if you get up early and go down to the beach, you can be there almost by yourself. And to me, if you're really, really quiet on the beach really early in the morning, I can feel those people. I can feel Picasso and Matisse. I can feel Hemingway and Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda and all those people. Welcome to the Stories Cafe podcast, the espresso version of Stories Cafe, offering quick, enriching moments of reflection on literature, cinema, archetypes, philosophy, and the art of living deliberately. Just like a perfectly crafted espresso at a Parisian cafe, each episode is a brief pause for you to submerge yourself in something invigorating and fulfilling. I'm Annette Wernblad, course creator, internationally published author, and wanderer at heart. So cozy up as we explore the powerful world of stories, how they shape our lives, and teach us the art of living deliberately. Welcome to the third and final episode of this little series about truly stepping into your role as the author, writer, director, and editor of your life. Today I will tell you about some of the amazing artists who lived and worked in Nice and the south of France. To get the full benefit of these 3 episodes, you can go back and listen to the previous 2 episodes if you missed them. I think it really is important to really truly own that, being the author of your own life, and start writing down your dreams and your plans from that place, even if they're dreams that you can't actually do right now. But if you have that kind of dream, write it down and see what happens, even if you can't do it now. So some of you may be asking, what on earth does this have to do with Picasso and Matisse? And probably on that level, maybe not that much. But one of the things about Nice, one of the things about being here, when you're in Nice and you look at the light here, the light is completely different than any other place I've ever been. And on the Côte d'Azur, that you can understand why all the painters lived here. You know, you can understand why this is where they decided to stay. And one of the things I just want to, this is just a little travel tip, is that you have all these little museums here that in Antibes, which is fairly close to here, you have the most lovely little Picasso museum. And it's like a villa that's been converted into a museum, and it's overlooking the sea, and outside you have all these Picasso sculptures. And it's not like a stuffy city museum. It's the kind of place you go in and the entire building is alive. So just a museum like that. But I also wanted to mention, in case you come here, that there's a town called Vence. You can actually take the bus to 2 little towns up in the mountains of Provence. One of them is called Saint-Paul-de-Vence and the other one is called Vence. And Saint-Paul-de-Vence has this hotel where Truffaut actually spent the last years of his life while he was sick. And what was so wonderful about that little hotel, La Colombe d'Or, is that all the famous painters stayed in the various rooms of that hotel and they painted directly on the walls. So if you stay in one of those rooms, you have original artwork, not as paintings, but actually painted directly on the walls by Picasso and Matisse and Chagall and all those other painters. And then if you take the bus just 2 or 3 stops further to Vence, is one of my favorite places in the entire world, which is a chapel. I'm just going to very briefly tell you the story of that, because they are stories too, even though they're live people. They're not structured stories written like that, but they're written indirectly by people who are very conscious of their own life. Deliberate, as you know, is my favorite word. Deliberate in the way they lived their lives. And Matisse at one point was very sick, and the Dominican nuns in Vence took him in and took care of him. And to thank them after he got well, he built the chapel for them. So it's like a tiny little church, and everything, the stained glass windows, the altar, everything is created by Matisse. The walls have the Passion of Christ and the Nativity story, all the stories
painted on the wall. The altar he made of a special kind of stone so that it looks like bread, and the stained glass windows are those yellow and blue. You probably know those graphic flowers that Matisse paints. So it's one of the most overwhelming experiences to go to that chapel and to be surrounded. And the Picasso Museum is a little bit like that as well, because it's not like a stuffy museum. It's like a building that you walk into it, and then you're surrounded on all sides by Matisse and Picasso. And the thing is, you know what, it is unfair to even say, did you prefer Picasso or Matisse? Because you can't just group Picasso as one person. Picasso had different periods of his work, as you probably know, and each of those periods is markedly different from the other ones. And so you'd have to sort of break Picasso down into those different periods. And I think it's possibly a little bit difficult to love Picasso as a man, because he was not very nice to the women in his life. Particularly Françoise Gillot wrote a book where she wrote some of the really, really horrible things he did to her. But Picasso, and there's no way around this, if we're talking about modernism, and I'd really love to actually talk about modernism very soon, because I think it is so important. In terms of painting, I don't know if there's a movie called Pollock about Jackson Pollock, played by Ed Harris. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, and pardon my French right now because I'm going to swear. The movie starts with Jackson Pollock being extremely drunk before he became Jackson Pollock. He's extremely drunk. He's so drunk that he can't walk up the stairs to his home. He's crawling up the stairs, and all the time he's swearing, and here comes the pardon my French, fuck Picasso. And what he means by that is Picasso already did everything. There is nothing you can do now to transform art, because Picasso already did everything. And then, of course, Jackson Pollock invents his famous neo-expressionist method of dripping paint. But so there is no way of overvaluing Picasso. He is, after the modernist period, is really the master. There's something that I like about Matisse, which is that I think he was a kinder person, and his pictures are more harmonious. There's so many Picasso stories. I don't always know which ones of them are true, but I love them even if they're not necessarily true. There's a story of Picasso standing in a museum, and there's a Nazi officer standing next to him looking at the Guernica. And then the officer realizes who Picasso is, so he turns around and looks at him and he says, "Oh, so you're the one who's responsible for the Guernica?" And Picasso looks back at him and says, "No, you are." And in that sense, what Picasso was trying to do was much more unpleasant in a way, and he was probably a much more unpleasant person, whereas I think Matisse was more harmonious. Just actually one last thing is that if you get up early and go down to the beach, you can be there almost by yourself. And to me, if you're really, really quiet on the beach really early in the morning, I can feel those people. I can feel Picasso and Matisse. I can feel Hemingway and Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda and all those people. So I'm thinking that probably I will be talking more about artists in Nice and living in Nice, and how that is. It is so important. We've been through a terrible time. Take back your role as the author and screenwriter and director and actor and editor of your own life. It's never too late to go back and edit the movie and dream the new dreams. And even if you can't do anything right now, dream it. Even if you can't do it, dream it. And once you start dreaming it, things start happening.
Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed your espresso break and learned something new. If you're eager to dive deeper into the world of stories and ideas, be sure to hit the follow button in Spotify or the plus button in Apple Podcasts so that you get each new episode straight to your podcast app. You can also visit us at Stories Cafe. Just go to stories-cafe.com. There you can explore free content for a taste of what we offer, or if you're ready for more, a paid membership unlocks in-depth discussions, full access to our archives, and a vibrant community of fellow story enthusiasts. I am so thrilled to have you here, and I look forward to welcoming you back to the Stories Cafe soon.